Hey everybody, it's JT from VapeStarsNetwork.com. Authentic to clone comparison today. Gonna compare the authentic Panzer to the clone, or one of the clone Panzers out there on the market. Well, let's have a quick vape. That's it. Let's just vape for a second. I worked last night and I'm still kind of waking up. So I'll go ahead and tell you this: the clone is not manufactured by H Cigar, Tobacco, any of the bigger or more popular clone manufacturers. I'll probably pronounce it wrong. Shenzi Hardware, SHENXI Hardware. And this is a borrowed device from my buddy Vaping Clouds. I will post as much information as I can get from him. Yeah, it'll be above this at VapeStarsNetwork.com. So let's just get right into it. Again, it's a borrowed device. So I've had this for a couple days, vaped on it, played with it, and I recently reviewed the authentic Panzer. Okay, it's a couple videos back. Pretty easy to go check it out. Let's start just look. So looking at the two devices, very similar right off of the bat. The machining, like most of the clones recently, pretty much identical. Design and everything, they really didn't do much different. Where they differ by looks is the bottom button. Okay, you've still got this gas mask, the MCV, I guess, logo. Alright, that's the authentic. And it's got the serial number on it. And this clone has got that same logo, but it's got Carpe Diem instead of a serial number. Otherwise, they look very similar. Now let's start the stuff. I'll tell you, when you pick up the clone, all of the machining, it's hard to describe. It looks a little smoother. Okay, that's the word I'm looking for. Still very detailed. Everything that's on the authentic is on this, but it's a little smoother to the touch. Everything is very clean. On the authentic, the edges are a little sharper. Not sharp like cut yourself, but you know, kind of rubbing your finger up and down it, it's definitely a little smoother, possibly a little more user-friendly feeling with the clone device. And I'm not sure how good the close-up is going to work on camera, but stick around at the end of this video. I will have some still images, some up close of these. But I described a little castle looking section. Can you see? Kind of like the tower on a castle at the edges. That is on both devices, okay? I'm going to try to... Okay, can you see inside of those grooves how it's a little rough looking? I'm not sure if that's apparent or not. I think it is. Okay, it's a little rough looking inside of those grooves. Now I just want to show you the other one. You see it's a little smoother. You can definitely see some tool marks there, but it's pretty smooth. The smoother one is the clone. Okay, what I can attribute that to, not knowing anything about metalwork or machining, is that the manufacturer that made this clone might have had a more efficient metalworking machine, lathe, whatever that would be. So there's that. It really, on the authentic, now that I've got something else to compare it to, looks like something I could accomplish with a Dremel. Now, the outline is cut out very cleanly, but inside, to get that metal, to make that depression It looks like somebody with a Dremel just kind of went at it and grinded some material away. That's what I've got. Smoother, button difference. The castle part, just a big difference there. But okay, so I reviewed the Panzer. My preliminary test, nothing scientific. I got about a 0.5 voltage drop. You get about a 0.4 with this clone. That's not a big difference, but it's there. Figured I would share it. Now, gonna have a quick vape from both devices on the same K-Fun style atomizer. That was the authentic. I mean, there's gonna be no real big difference for you, or honestly for me, just with a quick vape. Buttons are very similar. I feel like the, I don't know, they feel very similar, similar springs, similar throw, things of that nature. Now let's get inside a little bit. Insert joke there if you want. The authentic, we already talked about this. Copper adjustable contact to prevent battery rattle. And inside that contact in here, it's brass, and that's all adjustable as well for your 510 post, your atomizer, right? Bottom contact, authentic, copper as well. On the clone, wow, looks very similar. Got brass inside of the 510 connection, and you've got adjustable copper screw for battery rattle. Bottom contact, copper. Threads, very similar, like the machining. A little smoother maybe, but still great threads. I really enjoyed the threads on the original. They're nice, they're beefy, right? Beefy, that's the word. The clone, it delivers there, maybe a little smoother. So, like I mentioned, this is a borrowed device, okay? So I'm only gonna put this thing through so much because I've got to return it to my friend. I can't afford to send him money for this device. Here's my problem. As it sits, if I put my iGo W rebuildable dripping atomizer on here, it doesn't fire. Okay, that's a very popular atomizer. I use it quite a bit. That's very upsetting to have a device that won't fire on there. And I tell you what, at first I had to assume that while the copper post will adjust to prevent battery rattle, it's not a floating contact inside. So when I run my K-Fun style atomizer down, it's not probably going to show up on camera very well, but there is a gap. Oh, it's very small, and I get it, I'm not nitpicking, but there is a slight gap, okay, because that contact won't float down and allow this atomizer to seat all the way down flush with my mechanical device. The authentic, it's nice, it's floaty, it moves, it snugs up, it does all of that very well. Now, I mentioned this to my buddy Vaping Clouds. He tells me that that is a floating contact and it will move. If this was mine, I would take a hammer, and that's what it would need, and I would try to tap that down and make sure that that was indeed a floating contact. As of now, if you have to get a hammer, it ain't floating, right? I'm not gonna put it through that because, like I said, I've got to send this back to my buddy. If he wants to go and figure out a way to modify this so that contact floats in and out, that's fine. I can't do that, it's not mine. Overall, day to day, just vaping, walking around, normal life. Oh my gosh, there's an airplane going by and a truck driving by. front porch problems. They vape the same. They feel similar. Like I said, the clone's a little smoother as far as machining. I gotta tell you, just off the bat, the clone looks a little better because of those tool marks and things like that. I gotta give looks to the clone. They weigh about the same thing, same heft, which I enjoyed about the Panzer. That floating contact, or lack thereof, or lack of floatiness of the contact, bothers me greatly. Might not bother some people. And the iGo W, in my experience, has a bit of a shorter base 510 post on it than a lot of my atomizers. And get it. And if you want to use a hammer or some grease or a drill and you want to modify this thing so that pin floats, absolutely. But just be ready to do so, is kind of what I say. Overall, it's a good device. Again, I know I'm hammering it home, but that top contact not floating or being way too tight, that bothers me. Otherwise, there you go. That's the Shinzi hardware Panzer clone. And that's what I got for you. I'll post a couple pictures, still images after this. Thanks, everybody.